Hi, and welcome to the Everett Clippers newspaper. I'm your host, Chris Elder. I am a full-time student at Everett Community College and the host of veteran podcast Mill to Vet. Today we're going to be talking about the Veterans Day event that happened at the Veteran Resource Center. Cheyenne Hilerio, the president of the Veterans Club, hosted an event in the Veterans Resource Center with guest speakers David Conkler, Jeff Swan, and Drew James. This episode discusses suicide prevention and veteran mental health issues. Mature audience is advised. If you or someone you know is struggling, please call or text 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline.
Today we come together to recognize the courage and sacrifice and commitment of the men and women who have served in the military. Veterans Day isn't just a date on the calendar. It's a reminder of the strength it takes to follow the oath that we were given, to protect and defend the country, even in the most trying of times. A little interesting fact about Veterans Day. It was originally known as Armistice Day. It was marking the end of World War I on November 11, 1918, at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. It wasn't until 1954 that it officially became Veterans Day. As we reflect today, let us remember that freedom is not free. It is safeguarded by the dedication of those willing to stand in harm's way so that others can live in peace. Whether they served overseas or here at home, in times of war or in times of peace, our veterans deserve our gratitude not just today, but every day. On behalf of Veterans Club and the Veterans Resource Center, thank you all for being here today and for taking time to honor our heroes. Together, we keep their legacy alive. It is my honor to welcome our first guest speaker, Jeff Swan from Rock 22 Veterans Group.
Swan, and I'm the founder of the Rock 22. It's a veteran supporting veterans organization. We started beginning of 2023. A little history about it. I did a combat tour in 2008, 2009 over in Bagram, Afghanistan, where I worked in the BTIF over there, the prison, where we had 600 Al-Qaeda and Taliban insurgents. Then coming back off that deployment, you have that honeymoon period, about 6 months, and everything's going great, and then stuff starts happening. Started having nightmares, all that fun stuff. Ended up going to the VA. Later on that year, I got diagnosed with the PTSD. In 2012, I got a call from one of my friends that I served with over there, and he said he had a loaded gun to his head, and he's done with it. I ended up talking to him on the phone for about 2.5 hours, and thank God he gave the phone to his girlfriend, his wife now, and we're like best friends now. And then in about 2015, I started having a strong desire to help out other veterans. And I also came down with some breathing issues as well, but I'll touch on that in a couple minutes. But I was kicking it around, and then later on, probably about 2021, I started having conversations with the pastor of my church, the Rock Church. We were out in Monroe at the time, and I said, I want to start a group up for veterans, just to help out other veterans, just to talk with one another and be there to support one another. So he introduced me to a gentleman called Ray Lockman, which was one of the originals for the Point Man Ministries. And he had Washington State. So we became really good friends, and we started up the Rock 22. And the Rock 22's name, because we started from the Rock Church, and then the 22 to bring awareness that there are 22 veterans that commit suicide. So we started the group up in early 2023, and then about 2 months ago, we finally got the nonprofit organization status. So I'm really happy about that. Now, a little bit about me. Like I said, I did a combat tour in 2008, 2009. Then 2015, I started having the breathing issues. And at first, I just thought it was just being overweight and stuff. Didn't really think too much of it. But about 3 years ago, it really affected me. I mean, I couldn't walk up a flight of stairs. I was out of breath. I walked from the store to my truck. I was out of breath. And I was thinking, what's going on here? I was in good shape at the time too. So I go, it's not because I'm, overweight and all that stuff. So it just became to get worse and worse and worse. Then I ended up going to the VA because one day I was out doing some yard work and I like collapsed. I couldn't breathe. So I went to the VA and did all the testing. They sent me down to San Francisco for 3-day testing. And then they diagnosed me with constructive bronchitis and air trapping in the lungs. And due to the burn pits, it affects the small airways in the lungs. So this started affecting my life with my wife and my son. I have a 15-year-old son. He's 16 now. But we lived out on 5 acres in between Snohomish and Monroe. And we had a beautiful place. I mean, it was just absolutely, the house was great. We had 2 two-car garages and stuff. But it started affecting my life so much that I couldn't take care of the property. So we ended up having to move from our house in the country to one in town in Snohomish and stuff. And I felt really bad about that. It was just a big weight was on me. We have to leave this place to go to another place just because I can't do what I need to be able to do. So it was during the move, it hit me hard. I mean, really hard. I went up to one of our garages to try to find a weapon because I was going to kill myself. Because I thought my wife needs a husband that can do the things, support her, care for her, and do the things that I once was able to do. And to provide for my son, to go dirt bike riding with him, play basketball with him, football with him and stuff. And I was just like, I'm done. They need somebody that can help them. Thank God I called Ray Lockman up and he talked to me for a while and he's the one that helped me through it. He saved my life that day. And then after that, I was thinking, why am I started this group up, the Rock 22, to help out veterans, dealing with this, and now I'm the one that's asking for help, I should be the one giving the help, why is it affecting me? But anyways, my biggest desire, is to help out the veterans that are dealing with suicide, and if I can save one person's life, I mean, that's awesome, so, I mean, at the events I speak at and stuff, I tell the people, hey, if you see a veteran, just go up and say thank you. Thank you for your service. That takes 2 seconds. You don't know what kind of demons they're dealing with. You don't know if that 2 seconds will get them to the next day, So that's just a little bit about the Rock 22 and my story and everything. So I just want to say thanks for having Chris invite me out here. I did the Memorial Day event as well and stuff, and it was great. And thank you all for being here.
Welcome our next guest speaker, Drew James.
All right, good morning. First I want to start off, is there any devil dogs here? Any Marines? I was going to say happy birthday, but all right, since they're not. All right, so a little bit about me. My name's Drew James. I'm originally from California. I moved up here about 10 years ago, got hired on at Boeing. Been involved kind of with the VFW since literally I got off the bird. They suckered me in as I was kind of going through some out processing back in 2003. So essentially, if we go back in time, I joined the service shortly after high school. 2000, went into the infantry, got stationed at Fort Drum, New York with the most deployed unit for global war on terror. We were one of the first 10,000 actually deployed to Afghanistan. I was an infantryman, so we were boots on the ground, taking the fight to the enemy. Prior to that, we actually happened to be in New York City training the cadets at West Point. So very, very close. It kind of gave us that oomph from everybody back home to really take it to the enemy and do what we needed to do. We were lucky enough to have everybody come back at that point in time. Ended up, doing a couple of trainings in between, went back in 2003. This is where things really started to hit home. We had no idea about PTSD at that point in time, right? We've heard the terminology, shell shock, all the other terms back in the day. It really didn't get diagnosed until after a lot of us started coming back. So when I went back in 2003, there was a unit that we had actually replaced that had gone back to 82nd Airborne in North Carolina. There was a lot of mental issues that happened with those individuals, and they tried to tying it to the mefloquine pills, which is for malaria, There was a lot of instances, a lot of shootings of soldiers and spouses, those types of things. So that kind of started the PTSD stuff. 2003, I was only there for a couple months. Thankfully, my contract was fairly short. However, we were on the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan. I was in the world's hottest zone at that point in time, Shkin, Afghanistan. I happened to lose 3 very close brothers of mine. One of them actually happened to be one of my soldiers. I wear his bracelet on a daily basis. It never comes off of my body, ever. So I try to live my life worthy of his sacrifice every single day. Took me a little bit. I finally got diagnosed with PTSD in about 2006, 2007. Started to understand a little bit more about how that worked. My wife and I kind of were struggling through this, trying to figure this all out together. We still are on a daily basis. But, you know, it's one of those things that you have to work on it day to day. Fast forward to up here, 2015, moved up here, obviously with Boeing. Started to get involved a little bit in the veteran community. Found my local VFW post out in Monroe. Wanted to kind of get my feet wet. That happened for about 3 months, and I got thrown into the post commander position. So I was promised, hey, you're going to have mentorship and leadership and try to understand how all this works. They came, I moved into the position, and they disappeared. So I had to figure everything out on my own. So I've kind of taken that. I've kind of moved up through the ranks. Obviously now I'm the state commander, so I'm in charge of almost 23,000 veterans here in the state. However, that doesn't mean that I only represent 23,000 veterans. I represent every single one of us in this state. So currently, right now, as a state commander, I've reached out to the AMVETS, the DAV, the Legion. We are all partnering together to focus on the main issues that are important to all of us. One of the biggest things that we've heard lately is claim sharks. Is everybody familiar with claim sharks? Law firms, those types of individuals that are not accredited that want to charge veterans money. We have veteran service officers, the Legion has service officers, DAV has service officers that provide these benefits for free. So please, if there's any students that come in here or teachers, if you happen to hear of anybody talking about disability benefits, please, please, please send them to a local veteran service organization. We actually have a accredited service officer at the Everett Vet Center. He just started a couple months ago. His name is Michael Jackson. I'm not making it up, I swear. So he's very good at what he does. He's right down there. You can also get counseling at the vet center as well. How many of you have the GI Bill or something post 9/11? A lot of it, right? Does everybody know that the VA or the VFW was the largest veteran service organization that kind of drove that change for that back after World War II? How about the PACT Act? We heard about the PACT Act, right? Toxic exposure, jet fuel contamination, all that stuff. That was the VFW pushing it as well. We are the largest veteran service organization that gets to sit in front of Congress by themselves. All the other organizations have to go in collectively together, and they only get a couple minutes, right? We get a full hour. So I'll actually have the opportunity here in March to go speak on behalf of all of us to all of our legislators again and kind of push some of our priorities. So with that being said, if you're interested in learning more about the VFW and kind of what we offer, I'll be around for a little bit more. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Drew, for sharing your words and your continued service. Our final guest speaker today is Dave Conkle from 99 Line Veteran Services. He's also the co-founder of 99 Line Services.
Morning, I'm Dave. I'm with 99 Veteran Services. Been with 99 since 2016. I'm one of the co-founders. 99 Veteran Services is a nonprofit organization that when we originally started was just a resource fair that we held at the Tacoma Dome and an outdoor therapy program that me and my wife started out of my necessity to figure out how to take care of my PTSD. And so what ended up happening is I served from 2005 to 2013. Some of you are familiar with the Battle of Ramadi. I was down in Ramadi from 2006 to 2007. Did a second deployment to Iraq in Baghdad. And 2013, I was medically discharged for PTSD and back injuries because I was a dumbass tanker, if any of you guys know what that is. So that being said, my body didn't held up, and so I was a little frustrated when I got out of the military. I didn't like it. I was sitting there at 9.5 years almost, and I wanted to keep going, and body said no, and they said we're going to med board you, and so I got a little angsty in that situation, and PTSD started flaring up around that time too. And right before I got out of the military, one of the staff sergeants that I looked up to, through the whole deployment, he was an amazing leader, and he was someone that if you jacked up, he'd let you know you jacked up, but if he knew you needed guiding, he'd be right there beside you to guide you. We got back from our deployment, and he went to drill sergeant school. 3 months after he was in drill sergeant school, all the NCOs and people that were close to him got a phone call that he took his life. That really hit hard, because for this one, it was one of those stories that didn't make sense, because he was the NCO that always smiling, always joking, always had these different things that you would never have realized that was going on, right? And so that was extremely difficult, because we get all the suicide prevention awareness stuff. Oh, they're going to be depressed, or they're going to give you things, or they're going to do these things. There's warning signs. There was no damn warning sign. And so for me, things just kept going downhill. I went through the divorce. I went through all the different things, and my mental health was crap. And so I spent about another 4.5, 5 months after getting out of the military trying to figure out what I'm going to do, and thought of ending it myself. And finally, I stepped up and got connected with Wounded Warrior Project. Wounded Warrior Project was doing amazing things back then, and still are in lots of different realms. But they connected me to equine therapy, and equine therapy was an amazing thing, and I'm so glad to see Sonia here. So if you can get connected with it, she's going to be the person to talk to up here. But equine therapy gave me a connection to something I didn't realize, right? And it had me working with horses, and it was funny because I'd sit there and I'd go and work with my horse, and I'd be having an off day, and my horse would tell me I'm a jerk, and he wouldn't want to do a dang thing with me. And so it taught me to have to really dive deeper and figure out the inner realizations of what I was dealing with, right? And so what I ended up doing is, that was only a 12-week session. I'm broke. I can't afford a horse, so I got to figure out what I'm going to do next, right? And so I really got into hiking with my wife. And when we were out in nature, there was a connection that I found that made me feel at home, made me be able to come into a deeper sense of realization of what I had going on for myself. But I was also able to leave it there and find peace with myself too. And so I was able to bring that on. I'm currently working on an ecotherapy license through Washington State. I'm a certified peer counselor through Washington State as well. And now I get to lead these hikes and try and help veterans find their path out in nature. Once a year, we do a camp and shoot event. I know it sounds counterproductive for the conversation, but the camp and shoot event has been one of my most successful events. We get donated ammo. The gun club that we partner with, they come out and they bring a bunch of firearms, and we work hand in hand. If those that are uncomfortable with being around firearms, we build that comfort again, and we give you a sense of camaraderie and community that might be missing. Because honestly, let's be honest, what do we lose most and miss most when we get out of the military? Our brothers and our sisters. We lose a sense of purpose. Uniform comes off, we got to figure out what that transition looks like. So if we can find that, we do. The other thing is I am a part of the Staff Sergeant Fox Suicide Prevention Program. Staff Sergeant Fox Suicide Prevention Program is a VA-funded grant. Main focus is to get veterans connected with resources before the issue starts happening. But if it does, we have the ability to work for post, during, and pre-intervention. So all three different areas that gets connected with case management, counseling, alternative therapies, financial support, whatever it may be, because suicide isn't just because of mental health. Suicide is so many different things that compound. And if we can get that taken care of and get the ones that did their damnedest, because let's be honest, how many are veterans in here today? You guys are my heroes. You guys sat there and did one of the biggest sacrifices that no one else would have been willing to do. So if no one's told you, you guys are my heroes. And I'm proud of every single one of you, and I'm proud that I've either gotten to serve alongside you or that you're doing that now. Reach out. Know that you got people that care about you and love you, and we're here to support you. Happy Veterans Day, and thank you for everything you guys do.
Thank you for sharing your message with us. It's moments like these that, sorry. It's moments like this remind us why gatherings like today are so important, to reflect, to express our gratitude, and to continue supporting those who have given so much. It truly means a lot to see our community come together and honor and recognize the men and women who have served this country. For those who don't know my background, I proudly served as a culinary specialist in the Navy for 10 years, and I retired as a second-class petty officer. When I think about Veterans Day, I don't think about the uniforms or the medals. I think about early mornings on deployment, when the world was still dark and the galley was the first place I woke up to. The constant go, 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 everyone half asleep, some stumbling in from their night off on liberty. But it's within those quiet moments that you realize family doesn't always mean blood. It means the people who stand beside you, even when things get tough. To me, Veterans Day is about connection. It's about honoring not just the service itself, but the individuals who gave up holidays, who missed birthdays, who stood long, grueling hours and still found the strength to give their best. It's about the spouses who waited, the children who grew up proud, and the friends who never forgot. Service doesn't end when the uniform comes off. Every veteran carries a story, a lesson, and a spirit of resilience that continues to shape our communities. Veterans Day reminds us that freedom is not free. This day is built on the shoulders of those who serve for countless reasons. It reminds us to keep living with the same purpose, the same gratitude, and commitment. As we close today, I want to leave you with a question. What does Veterans Day mean to you? Because whether you've worn the uniform or simply said thank you to someone who has, we all play a role in keeping the spirit and pride of military service alive. By living with honor, courage, and commitment, or by staying always faithful to those who wore the uniform before us and those who will serve after us. Now, round of applause. It's through shared respect and gratitude that we keep our legacy alive. Thank you again for being here and honoring us veterans.
From everybody at the Everett Clipper, we all thank our veterans. Thank you, and have a great Veterans Day.